You could never persuade her to read half so much as you wished. You know you could not. Hi everyone! Today we're going to talk about reading. I am currently reading Emma by Jane Austen. It is one of the 2 Jane Austen novels that I have not read before. So in today's video we're going to talk about books that I am wanting to read that I have not read yet, and I'm also going to share with you some books that I recommend everyone to read because they're so good. I will not spoil anything. I might give you like an overview, but I definitely am not into spoilers. So we're going to start with books that I would like to read. I wouldn't really call myself like a Jane Austen fanatic, but I did grow up with Jane Austen and I really enjoy Jane Austen. The 2 novels of hers that I have not yet read are Emma, which I'm currently reading, and Persuasion. So the first thing I put on my list was Persuasion by Jane Austen. I'm not actually sure where I heard about this book, but there's a book called Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. The title and the concept of it just I found very interesting, so I'm really interested in looking that one up. Amusing Ourselves to Death by Neil Postman has been highly recommended to me by several people, and so I am really looking forward to picking that one up. Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte is an iconic classic. I mean, everyone knows the title, a lot of people have read it. It's one that I somehow did not read. My sister, who honestly really dislikes Wuthering Heights, has told me that she thinks that I might actually like it. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald is another classic, iconic classic that I have not picked up, so I put that on my list. I've listened to Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert a couple of times and really enjoyed it. The first time I listened to it, honestly, I did not like it that much. And there are some odd elements to it and I was like, this isn't what I was expecting. But I actually really do like the book. But she mentions The Signature of All Things. I think it's a work of fiction, but about people bringing different plants and agricultural things to the US, which I just think is really cool because I'm super into gardening and flowers and that kind of stuff. So I wanted to pick this up. So my sister bought this for me. I love country music, really do. And Scotty McCreery is one of the names that I got into country music, and he wrote this book, Go Big or Go Home. And then of course Bird on Fire by Suzanne Collins, which is the Hunger Games prequel that just came out. I've heard conflicting reviews about it. Sometimes when you have the series that's so wonderful, when they start trying to add on prequels and those sorts of things, it can kind of, I don't want to say ruin, but it can kind of ruin the things that you already love, and I don't want to allow that. So if I really hate it, I'll just like pretend that it doesn't exist. Last one on my list is Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I love Stories at Sea. Master and Commander books are some of my all-time favorite books. I did not put them on my recommended list because I feel like if you don't enjoy Napoleonic warfare or like old ship stuff, that is probably not for you. Okay, recommendations for you guys. This list might be a bit eclectic. The first thing I put on was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen because that is the iconic Jane Austen that everyone knows and everyone talks about. So even though it's not my favorite Jane Austen, I do feel like that is one there, if you're only going to read one, that's the one to read. Hunger Games, I put on the list as well. The way Suzanne Collins writes, and she pulls in the history of like Roman Empire and the arena and that kind of stuff, but she does it in a futuristic manner. I mean, you can take it at face value and just be like, oh, it's this super fun YA series, but you can also see how much detail and thought there is into this world that she's created. I think she's very brilliant. I think they're great books. Everybody Always by Bob Goff. I read for the first time, I think last year, but it might have been 2 years ago. I have listened to it probably 5 or 6 times since then. Absolutely love it. I've bought it for multiple people because I just think it's a fantastic book that everyone should read. Definitely recommend. Everybody Always by Bob Goff. He also wrote a book called Love Does. I didn't put that one on the list too. However, I would totally like listen to both of them, read both of them. The next one's an interesting recommendation. I have not read it since high school. It's called The Two-Income Trap by Amelia Tyagi and Elizabeth Warren. Basically, it's a mom and her daughter talking about the way our society has changed, where it used to be that there was one provider and one stay-at-home parent. And now that both people are working, just the cultural things that have changed and how our economics have changed. Very interesting read. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I had always loved the story of Jane Eyre. The way Charlotte Bronte weaves together her characters and the way you get connected to Jane and just understanding Jane's plight. Just, it's so good. It's very thick, but I basically didn't do any housework for like a week while I read this, and I got through it really quick because it was just that good. All the King's Men by Robert Penn Warren. It's basically a history of the British military. So it talks about buying commissions and the changes and those sorts of things. It does talk about some wars, battles, and certain generals, but it's a history of the military. Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis are some of the best books ever written. They're children's books, super easy to read. There are 7 of them total. I can't give you a non-biased opinion because I did grow up with them, but I really recommend reading The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. Unwind by Neil Shusterman. It's one of my favorite YA series. I don't want to spoil things because I'm so not into spoilers. I feel like he does a brilliant job of creating a world that is horrific to us now, but he also shows you how people would accept it, and I really think it's very brilliantly put together. There are some disturbing images in some of these books. There are 4 books total, or at least 4 that I know of, but I totally think it's worth the read, and if you don't mind a little bit of darkness, I really do recommend reading these, and they're very thought-provoking. Make Your Bed by Admiral William McRaven. I listened to this audiobook and then found this copy, which is actually signed, which I think is so cool. This is just such a good book. One, it's written by an admiral, and I love the Navy, so you know I'm gonna be a fan. So it's called Make Your Bed, Little Things That Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World. I mean, what else do you need to know? The last book I'm going to recommend to you is Alice in Wonderland. I love Alice in Wonderland. And my sister knows I love Alice in Wonderland and has been helping me collect several very pretty editions of Alice in Wonderland, and I don't mind at all. I love whimsical tales. Alice in Wonderland, Charlie Chocolate Factory, Peter Pan, all those sorts of tales tend to be my favorites. I hope you guys enjoyed some of those recommendations. Maybe you can look into them. Maybe you've already read some of them. If you want to recommend a book to me that I did not mention here, please feel free to do that in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!